talking about Walden, not Waldo. We may or may not know where he is, but we got Walden here. So, what's Walden up to, and who is Walden? Well, let's get a clue with the IMDb plot here. Walden Dean, an unassuming court stenographer in a small southern town. When he discovers he is dying, he decides to exact revenge on criminals who escaped their prosecution. All right. Interesting stuff there. We'll get into this in a second, but to start, a couple of the usual things here. New movie coming out, and received a screener for this one, so we will keep this as spoiler-free as possible. Don't know that there's a huge twist in this to kind of mess you up with, but I guess, there is a little bit of a mystery going on here, and I'll try to shy away from that. However, let's see. I think you'll find some familiar faces with the cast. The acting is really good in this one, and especially from Walden, and he's definitely an interesting character. And I guess one of the things that I kind of liked to start with this movie is Walden, because he's a character who's in a role. First of all, he's a little bit unusual, but just being a court stenographer, and I don't want to say that too many times because it hurts my brain to remember that. But because of his position, I guess, that's just not a role we've seen in many horror movies. Actually, this one's just listed as a thriller, but, it kind of has a little bit of horror in it, I guess. But it's not a role we see much, so I kind of like the aspect when we see an interesting character, but kind of in a role that we've not seen much of. So, and it plays an important part of who he is and what's happening in this movie as well. So, it's not just he goes to his job and that's a side thing here. It's important to what's going on. So, anyway, yeah, that he is that, and he goes to court, and he's in charge, of course, typing everything that's said during the court cases here. And, it's a little bit of a looser courtroom, it seems. You've got an interesting judge here, and definitely in control of his courtroom, though. And is very good friends with Walden. This is, like I said, it says a small town. So, everybody who works there kind of knows each other, and the people who live there. And certainly a lot of the characters that run into each other, you're going to see know each other fairly well as well. So he's really wrapped up in his job, and he's also wrapped up in this competition to see who, I guess, is the fastest typer, best stenographer. Again, I'm saying it, but yeah. So those are two things he's kind of wrapped up into, and he takes it pretty serious. And yeah. If you're wondering, I also did not know that there are competitions for that, but apparently there are. So those are two things that are kind of going on as we get introduced to him early on. And shortly after that, as we get the ball rolling here, he starts not feeling well. And something seems to be wrong with him, and that kind of changes his demeanor. And with that, so he starts taking some medicine and maybe doing a little drinking. And he's had this kind of shift in his mind, in his head space. And with that, he's now sitting and paying attention in court to some of the cases that are going by, and really wondering, about justice and serving it, and are the people who are in these court cases that are in front of him really getting what they deserve. And to start, there's, like I said, there's mystery here, and one of the big mysteries is the boy who's killed, a young boy that many people are familiar with, and he's killed. And that affects not only Walden, but many who are around him, and obviously the town. And there's also some other murders that have happened, and like I said, there's a little bit of a mystery going on here, and with some other children who've also disappeared. And they don't, it's not about, necessarily solving it. It's not a big mystery movie where it's all about that. But that's certainly going to play a role in what eventually happens. Um, but also, uh, they have this one case where this guy comes in and he's apparently done some bad stuff with a kid, and of course the judge basically throws the book at him. Uh, but soon enough, he gets out on a technical issue, and it is then when Walden is kind of first um, takes his new kind of persona to God and do his own justice. So he seeks out this person and yeah, ends them. And it's the first of several people who he's going to get justice with. And I said, it's not a big horror movie, but if you want to count the horror in the movie, that's kind of where it's going to come, because he almost becomes a serial killer, but for justice. As I was watching, I'm kind of thinking, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Dexter, where, um, he's out there trying to kill, although, Dexter was really a serial killer at heart, but he was killing, supposedly guys or people who deserved to die. And in this case, Walden's kind of doing a similar thing, where, he's not necessarily a serial killer, um, but he is killing people who so-called deserve to die, or maybe deserve punishment. Maybe die is too much in some of the cases. I mean, I guess that's going to be up to you to decide when you're watching this and who he decides to go after. But he is certainly going to kill a couple of people, and if you're looking for the blood and guts of the movie, it's kind of there, but not there. I'll say a little bit disappointed that they didn't show more than they showed. I wanted to see him kind of go after it a little bit more, and he certainly does, but they just don't show it enough or as much as I wanted to see. It's kind of one of those things I sometimes complain about, where, we get the nice scene and it's coming, but then they kind of cut away when you get to the stuff that you really want to see. So yeah, it is kind of that. So you get a little, but maybe not as much as you want, or at least not as much as I wanted there. Um, so you have that. So basically, you're going to kind of see Walden and kind of how his personality is going to kind of change over time, and then how he kind of decides who to go after and how to go after. And obviously, again, the competition is going to play a little bit of a role in his life there, and bring somebody into it, and open some doors. And yeah, and then I should say, on the flip side of it, there are two policemen involved here who are obviously trying to solve the cases in the town, and they're going to play a role in it. And obviously, they're upset that the guy got off, the first one I talked about a few minutes ago. And now they're kind of tasked with, there was another murder, and they're kind of tasked with trying to figure out who this is, and they kind of place the blame on one person, and that kind of opens the door to a pretty another tragic scene here. Kind of opens the door and opens things up. Where again, we're kind of moving from thriller to horror, because it is a horrific crime scene that's there that they find. And but Walden's gonna have to make some decisions, and again, he's not Dexter. Let's put it that way. Dexter was smooth and got really good at what he does, and Walden is not that way. But he's still going to escape it for the most part. And like I said, there's some mystery going towards the end of the movie, but we'll leave that for you guys to see. So to me, I think they were. I don't know if they were trying to make it a twist, but in a way, I kind of saw what was going to happen coming. I'm not going to claim, great, I saw the great mystery there. Uh, but I kind of had, inklings of maybe that was going to happen, and it did. So, whatever. But again, I don't think the movie is driven by, having to fool you or not. Um, it is definitely about seeing Walden change, and then you get these deaths, and then obviously what is truly going on here in this town, and so yeah, it is a good movie. Like I said, it is solid acting, and that's what helps it a lot. And I think you guys enjoy it. It's not, it might not go as far as you want or I want it, if you like blood and guts like me, but still good enough. And I think there's one scene that kind of reminded me of Misery, and didn't quite have the same oomph as that, but it did spark some memories. So that's always fun, and yeah, I think it's good enough. So I'm gonna give this one 3 pools of blood, and that is out of 5. I October just ended, so we're into November now, but it doesn't mean there's not still some horror to go around, and there's plenty of it, and I think this is one of the ones to kind of start off November with. So I hope you guys will check it out and enjoy it, and just enjoy it. Like they are, Walden's an interesting character, and there's a couple of other ones in here, and you can see where everything falls in the end. So again, that's 3 pools of blood out of 5. Horrorscorereviews.blogspot.com is where you can find all of my reviews, written and video, but definitely, obviously, done mostly video lately. So please like, subscribe, do all those things that everybody wants you to do. But if not, no worries, no problem. Twitter, Facebook, information down below as well. And certainly the comment section is down there too. So feel free to reach out to me if you want to, once you see this movie, you want to discuss it, give your opinion, reach out to me for something. Feel free to in any of those places. And with that, I guess I will catch you on the next review, horror fans.